Some of the most popular tips you see online on how to save money when booking a cruise can actually end up costing you more, while others may save you a little money but can completely ruin your vacation. Here are top 4 popular tips that sound smart but could work against you. Here's a popular tip. Book a smaller or older ship because it's going to be cheaper. Now that's true, the base fare is usually going to be less, but that doesn't mean that you're going to spend less money on your vacation overall. Here's what we've experienced. Over the last few months, we've cruised on both the biggest, newest ship, which is the Icon of the Seas and Utopia of the Seas, and Royal Caribbean's smallest, oldest ship, Grandeur of the Seas. And we've cruised on every class ship in between them. Besides the size, the biggest noticeable difference is what you get for your money on each class ship. Let's start with dining options. On a smaller ship, there just aren't as many included places to eat, and the ones that are there might not be anything to write home about. So if you're a foodie, you might end up wanting to spend more on specialty dining, and those meals don't come cheap. Most specialty dining restaurants are going to cost anywhere from $30 to $50 per person per meal, so it doesn't take many of them to add up to costing what you would have paid for the larger ship that would have had more included food. Entertainment and activities are another area where smaller ships just might leave you a little bit limited. If you cruise a lot and you just want to be out in the sea, enjoying the ocean breeze, then sure, an older, smaller ship can be perfect. But if this is your one big vacation of the year, you might feel like you're missing out. Because bigger ships do have so many entertainment options, from production shows to comedy clubs to ice skating and water shows. And if you got kids, the larger ships almost always will have more kid-friendly things to do and a wider range for options in kids' clubs, activities, and amenities. And the third place where smaller ships might end up costing you more are those not so exciting ports that most cruise lines include in their itineraries. So if you don't really care about a specific port, staying on a ship while it's docked there means you have a ton to do, all already included in the price. But on a smaller ship, you're more likely to feel like you need to go to port and do something, and it's usually going to be an excursion or at least a meal or even grabbing a cab to explore. It still adds up to your expenses really fast. So the question you have to ask yourself,
well, do you feel lucky, punk?
No, that's not the question. The question is it worth saving a couple $100 and get a lot more limited experience? Or are you going to get on board and end up paying for those extra experiences anyway, ending up costing you more money in the end? So here's a common tip that is repeated a lot. Book the cheapest cabin you can because you're never in your room. You probably heard that, right? Now, if this is the only way you can fit a cruise into your vacation budget, by all means. I think any day on a cruise is better than a day in the office. But if you do have a little wiggle room with your budget, think about it differently. When it comes to value for money, sometimes spending a little extra gets you a lot more in return. So think of it this way. If you can pay $10 for a McDonald's burger or $15 for one from a restaurant, which one would you pick? Now, some people are totally fine with the budget option, and it's great if it works for them. To others, McDonald's burgers don't even stand up to a basic standard of food that they would want to consume at all, so it doesn't matter to them if it's cheaper. Now, in cruising, this choice is not just about taste, because it is about the experience that you're looking for on a cruise. And yes, the time you spend in your cabin definitely makes a big difference, but there are a lot more things to consider. For some people, the small size and the darkness of interior cabins is depressing and claustrophobic. For others, it feels like it's a little cozy nook where they get the best sleep. So it could literally save you a lot of money and ruin your vacation, or you could absolutely love it. Now, when we travel with family or a big group, yes, we barely see our rooms because we're always out and about. But when we go just as a couple, we love to have space of our own. That private balcony to unwind and watch the ocean go by. And it's not the same thing sitting in a public area on a pool deck. Now, in those cases, that extra cost feels completely worth it to us. So just make sure you don't go for the cheapest cabin just because that's what everybody says to do, and then hate your trip because you booked a wrong type of cabin. This topic has polar opposite opinions. The question is, should you book through a travel agent, or should you hunt down the cheapest rate you can through something like Costco or any one of those online booking agents? And this is going to depend on two things. So first is your level of cruise experience. Second is what cruise line you want to go on. So let me explain both. If you've cruised a lot and before you book your next vacation, you already know the ship you're going on, the cabin number, and what you're going to eat on day 3, then finding the best deal on your own might just be fine. But if you're newer to cruising or thinking about a new cruise line or destination, a good travel agent can make all the difference. So here's the thing, a lot of online booking sites and even cruise line customer service reps often have zero personal experience with cruising. If you've been watching YouTube videos or browsed cruise forums, you might know more than they do about cruising. These reps are great at taking an order, processing a reservation, but they usually don't know the ins and outs that make your trip special. This is where a knowledgeable travel agent comes in. They can help guide you through the choices, which cruise line and ship will suit you best, what ports will work better for you or your family members, what cabin types that will fit your needs, and even the ideal cabin location based on your preferences. Basically, a good travel agent can help you avoid that dreaded, "I wish I booked something else" regret. And when it comes to pricing, some cruise lines allow travel agents to offer amazing group rates and perks that can save you money. For instance, Royal Caribbean offers some of the best discounts for group bookings. Other lines might just give a little onboard credit that's not really much savings. In fact, we're going to be sailing on Star of the Seas when it launches next year, and since I'm working with a travel agency, we currently have a number of discounted group spaces available. Now, they're still not going to be as cheap as the older, smaller ships, but if you are looking at those new classes of ships, you can save a few $100s per person, which really adds up fast. So if you're interested in sailing on Star of the Seas or Icon of the Seas, check the link in description for what we have for group space on Royal Caribbean ships. One of the biggest tips you hear is to book off-season if you want to save money. But what does that even mean? Many people think that booking off-season just means to book in the dead of winter, but there's a lot more to it. In fact, November and December can be some of the most expensive months to cruise because they include holiday travel. So let's quickly go through each season and figure out when is the best time to save money, but also to have a great vacation. And keep in mind, most of this is going to apply to US travel. So if you're in a different part of the world or you're cruising in a different part of the world, make sure to check those specifics. All right, so let's start with winter. January and February are usually the cheapest months to cruise. However, here's the catch. If you're planning a tropical getaway in the Caribbean, be prepared for some chilly water. The ocean might be too cold for swimming, and pool water may not be warm enough unless it's a heated pool. Next, there's fall. You have September and October and into November, and this is the next in line for affordable fares, but it comes with the risk of hurricanes. So if you're up for a little weather uncertainty, fall can be a sweet spot for cheaper fares. And for families, this time can work really well because of the schools. Most schools in the US have fall breaks sometime around October. And this is something our family has taken advantage of for years to cruise affordably with kids. Spring from early March to early May is the next affordable option. But here, you want to keep an eye out for spring break crowds because college breaks in the US are staggered across March and April. And if you want to skip the party crowd altogether, try the first couple weeks of May because the spring break is done by then, but you still get some springtime prices. So when choosing between spring and fall, you kind of have to decide, would you rather have a potential of possible weather disruption in the fall, or would you rather deal with potential spring breakouts taking over hot tubs in March? Finally, we get into summer, and that is going to be the most expensive season. And if summer is your only option, there are still some ways to save. Now here's a tip. Did you know that cruises that originate in the last few days of May are often a lot cheaper than sailings that start out in the first days of June? And we're talking about hundreds of dollars difference per person. This is exactly how we saved a lot of money when we wanted to sail during summer school breaks with our kids. As soon as school is out, we're on a plane that day. Now, another drastic drop happens around the first or second week of August. This is when most schools go back. So if you really want to sail during the hottest summer months, but you don't want to pay the premium, that second half of August is usually a lot cheaper than the rest of the summertime. And if you like this video and found it informative, hit that like button and subscribe for more. And then watch these other videos that YouTube handpicked just for you.